up, guys? This is Showtime Fight Form, and I already know this is your boy Showtime Sanders. First and foremost, as always, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment, and all that good stuff. And let's get right into the nitty-gritty. So, today's drop is going to be about UFC 273. And what a great card, man. It was phenomenal. So many good fights. And, I mean, obviously, we all know the fight of the night was ridiculous, and I cannot wait to talk about that. But I have to, as always, I give my predictions, and I always got to say if I did good, if I did okay, if I did bad. This is probably the worst since I've shot this show. This is probably the worst I've ever done. I believe I've only got 2 of the fights correct, as far as the winners of the actual bouts, and everything else was wrong. So I was like, what, 2 and 4? There's no excuse. All right, I'm ashamed of myself. I will do better. I promise. Going forward, Josh will do better. So yeah, now let's go ahead and talk about these fights. Mackenzie Dern, all right, versus Tecia Torres. Funny thing is, I rewatched the video and I was completely like, I think I had a brain fart, because I originally planned to take Mackenzie Dern because I said she has that it factor. I do believe stylistically it was a difficult fight for her, but I just felt like she was gonna find a way to make it work. And then I somehow picked Tecia. I'm stupid. I was completely wrong. Mackenzie Dern looked great. I mean, realistically, it's, and one thing I didn't break down that I should have, and I should have made an emphasis on a little bit more, was the size difference. Tecia Torres is honestly small enough to fight at atom weight. The guys who don't know what atom weight is, that's literally 105. She is a very small 115 pounder. Mackenzie Dern is a very big 115 pounder. She can very well fight at 125 and not miss a beat. That played a factor. Not to mention also, Mackenzie Dern she punches hard. Like, she's not the most technical striker, but when she thumps, she can thump. Girl, she can thump. So I didn't call that fight well. Mackenzie Dern fought a great fight. Tecia Torres, realistically, going forward, you're still a great fighter. There's still big fights. I ain't gonna say big, but there's still important fights for you to have. Maybe fight Nunes or someone in the back half of the top 15. But I think that window has closed as far as her ever getting a title fight. Don't think it's gonna happen. These girls are just too good. She's also unfortunately in the deepest division in women's fighting, which is 115, and she's also not big enough. And it sucks to say because, if there was a 105 pound division, she would literally be champion. Like, who's beating her? Nah, I don't think there's many. So, yeah, unfortunate. Mackenzie Dern, the world is your oyster right now. Granted, you did lose the Marina, so you're on a 1 fight win streak technically. But yet and still, there's still big fights there for you. You could fight Yone, who literally just lost the Marina, to, possibly get your way back up the rank. I think that would be a great fight for you. It's a very tough fight for you as well, but it's winnable, and I think that you should probably take that fight next. All right, so the next fight after that was the best fight of the night, and honestly one of the candidates for fight of the year, and that is Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns. Now, simple and plain, everybody was excited for this fight. I was excited for this fight. It was the people's main event because I think that was the one where people were it was probably the most unpredictable as far as how the fight will go. And I assumed that it would be a tough fight for Chimaev, even though the odds are different. At the end of the day, reason why I said it was going to be by KO was just simply because I don't trust Gilbert Burns' chin versus power punchers. There's a reason why he went straight to the wrestling route with Stephen Thompson. It's just because he knows his chin can't really hold up when he goes against really good strikers. And granted, not to say Chimaev is a really good striker, but he's a powerful striker. So yeah, I didn't really expect it to hold up, but it did. Now, for the fight itself, phenomenal. Chimaev is as good as advertised, and I'm very confused by people. Actually, I don't know why this is doing that. Hold on, I'm sorry, guys. There we go. That was weird. But I'm very confused on why people are saying he's overrated now. Do people not understand how good Gilbert Burns is? Did we forget that he almost, he hurt Rock Usman? Very well could have, pulled it away at in the beginning of that fight. Do we forget what he did to Damian Maia, to Tyron Woodley, sure, that doesn't hold as much weight anymore. But at the end of the day, the guy's a talented striker. He's a phenomenal grappler. He is ranked number 2 in the entire freaking division. What, just because he didn't steamroll him like he did everybody else, at the end of the day, your expectations are unrealistic. If you are going against the best of the best, it's hard to get finishes, and it's hard to be to dominate. There's a reason why the Anderson Silvas and the John Joneses are the perceived GOATs and GSPs. Why? Because they were able to dominate even at the top. It's hard to do that. This guy is only 11 fights in, and he's fighting the number 2 ranked fighter who's a tough fighter, and he beat him. And granted, some people think that Chimaev lost. I get it. The first 2 rounds are easy. You know who won. Chimaev clearly won the first. Gilbert Burns clearly won the second. The third round was close. However, I gave it to Chimaev just because I felt like if you're going to go with who's close to getting the finish, who did the most damage in that round, I felt like it was Chimaev. I thought Gilbert Burns at one point was on his way out in the beginning part of that round, and I thought that really lost him that completely. He started shelling up, started eating a lot of shots. It looked like he was going to be done. He gassed out. But then he pulled away at the end, started to throw some punches and land them. But it was a little too late for me, so I still gave it to Chimaev. I mean, the guy's good. Come on, bro. 11 fights in, he's already doing this. I am super impressed with this dude. He did hurt and almost finished the fight in the first round. We saw that he does have cardio, because at the end of the day, that was my biggest thing. Your fight, you literally beat everybody in the first round. You going into the second and third was something that I was like, all right, we've seen these before, like the Shane Carwins, and I can't really think off the top of my head, people who get the first round stoppages really quick, and then afterwards they're not good. It's just because that's what their body's used to. Bro, he was fine in round 2. He was fine in round 3. He was tired, but he wasn't gassed, and he didn't forfeit the round. He just got caught with some really good shots because I felt like he just wanted to brawl and get him out the way. Didn't go his way because Gilbert's tough. I mean, he powers carries through the third. He still was able to throw combinations. I thought towards the late half of the third, he really did start to gas, but that was such a high-paced fight with so many power shots. I understand why he was so tired. I do think he'll be prepared for a 5-round fight if needed and if it happens, and I do think it's going to happen in his next fight, whether it's Usman or someone else. But he proved a lot, man. He proved that he can strike. He's a good wrestler, and at the end of the day, he has good cardio. He's a tough guy. He got hurt, got rocked, still kept through, and he faced adversity. People crumble in adversity. We know that he's not that kind of guy. Phenomenal. I was impressed. I mean, what's next is pretty simple. It's either Usman or you're going to put him against Colby. And if Colby wants to fight, because I don't necessarily know if Colby wants to fight or not, that's a very fun fight. Top-notch wrestler versus another top-notch wrestler, which means it might end up being a striking fest. And I don't think Colby has the power to threaten Chimaev like Gilbert did. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup. It's still going to be a tough fight for Chimaev, and I'm here for it. I don't care if it is Usman but if I was Chimaev, I probably would want Colby first, because that I'm not going to say it exposed you, because it didn't. It shows that you're up there. You just still need some work. And I would just want to, since you're so young in the game, one, Usman's getting older. He's already 37. He's getting older. So more time that you wait for him to get past his prime is better for you. And then two, you still need more mat experience. So, I mean, it's good to get a 5-rounder in before you have to fight Usman, because you might not be able to pull away and knock out Usman. So you might have to dig deep in the 4th and 5th. So it'll be good to at least get one fight in an experience with that. Gilbert, I mean, I guess the loser of this coming up fight, which is between Luque and Bilal, maybe fight the loser of that, maybe even the winner, who knows. But it was a tough fight. You did good. You didn't lose any stock, in my opinion, but it is what it is. Now, the fight also that a lot of people are making super controversial, which is obviously the championship fight between Pewter Yone versus Aljamain Sterling. Thought that was a very fun fight, very good fight. I mean, there was, of course, parts that was dull when he was getting backpacked. Yone was getting backpacked, I'm sorry. But it was still an interesting fight, fun fight. I do think Yone disrespected Aljamain going into the fight. That was not the same Yone that we've seen before. It was very aggressive. It seemed like, I'm better than you. I'm just gonna get you out the way. There wasn't real respect of his game like he did in the first fight between them, and it bit him in the butt. I originally thought Yone won 3-2. I thought at best it could have been a draw, but I didn't really think it was a 10-8 round in there, so I gave it to Yone 3-2. After rewatching the first round, because at the end of the day, just like the Chimaev fight, there's only one round that really can be debated, and that is, in this case, round 1. All right, round 2, 3, we already know who won. 4, 5 is Yone. Round 1 was very close. At first, I gave it to Yone because I'm thinking he was more aggressive. He was throwing, it seemed like he was throwing more. But then after rewatching it, turned the audio down and really started to pay attention, I'm okay with saying Aljo won that fight. He was throwing more. He was landing more. Whether you think they were insignificant or not, he was landing more. Peter was just honestly just walking him down, and he was missing a lot. And the more active person as far as strikes, wrestling, the action goes, it was actually Aljamain. So I'm not mad at it. Granted, if you still think, and you watch it again, think Yone won, cool. I'm not even beefing. It was a close fight. But the people who think that he was robbed, no. Watch that round 1. It was very close. I have no problem giving that to Aljamain. Aljamain won that fight. He came in dedicated, motivated, and I'm very impressed with that. I didn't have him winning, but at the end of the day, he proved everybody wrong. Nobody gave this man a chance for real. He gave himself a chance, and that's why you love this sport. Because you get dudes that believe in themselves so much that they get these upsets. So, power to him. And Aljamain, I guess the next fight would be TJ Dillashaw. I mean, a lot of people want to put in Jose, but TJ is the rightful guy. I mean, yes, he got dusted at 125 and he was on drugs, this, that, and third. And some people don't think he beat Corey Sandhagen on one of them. However, on the books, it say he won. And even at minimum, it was a close fight. So it's okay to grant this man a title shot. And it's a very tough matchup for Aljamain. Got a tough matchup either way. Either if it's Aljo, if it was Aldo or if it was TJ, it's a tough fight. He's probably gonna be the underdog for both of them, in my opinion, because I think both of them have the styles to beat him. But you can't sleep on this man because he is tough, and we just seen that. Yone, I mean, you might have to fight Merab. That division is super deep, so I mean, you could very well fight Aldo again in a rematch. I don't personally care to see that because, I think there's other fights, newer opponents for you to fight. But yeah, that's, I guess, the next bout for you. But Yone, you're a good fighter, and in reality, I still think you're better than Aljo. But that night, you definitely were not who you really are. Then now we got to go to the main event. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because at the end of the day, I predicted this. This was the easiest one, and I really don't care to give myself that much credit for it. This was a terrible matchup for him. Like, Korean Zombie is called Korean Zombie for a very specific reason. He gets hit and he walks forward and he can take a shot. Volkanovski is the worst matchup possible for him. Because he is active, he moves, he doesn't care to brawl with you. He's not gonna brawl with you. You're gonna fight on his terms when he tells you to, and he's gonna keep lighting you up until you go down. And also, he can wrestle you if he needs to. Like, there's too many tools in this man's game, and if you don't have like a real arsenal of threats, you're not gonna stand a chance versus him. He's just too good. And he's not the most exciting, not the most flashy, but the guy gets the job done, and that's all that matters in this game. So it was a setup fight. Korean Zombie sucks. I'm a fan, but you're just not, unfortunately, up to that par of level. Now, when it comes to what's happening with Volkanovski, we know it needs to be Max Holloway. If he goes up to 155, I mean, maybe Dustin Poirier or maybe Chad Mendes, or maybe Michael Chandler or something like that. But I think you should stay at 145. Get a trilogy, and if you win that, then you're pretty much, kind of done with this division until like a real contender come about. So then maybe you do go up, but even still, it's like, that's a very weird thing. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. And then Korean Zombie, I mean, there's still a lot of fun fights for you. Title shots probably no more longer in your picture. You lost twice pretty much in dominant fashion in the championship fights. You're older, you're like 37, 38. It's a wrap. But you're still a fan favorite, and I hope you get more fights. Now, this obviously went a little long because there's a lot to talk about, but please tell me, as always, what you think. Please tell me what you think of UFC 273 and what are some matchups that I didn't mention that you actually want to see, or some fights that happens that day, because there was a bunch of fun fights. I want to hear what you think. As always, be blessed. This is Showtime's Fight Forum.